G'day, Jason Nunn, Fisherman's Warehouse, Tackle Marks Point, with this Friday's fishing report. Well, up here at Marks Point, a little bit of northerly, and of course, that's what's going to happen this afternoon. We're going to get a little bit of a temperature swing. I suppose get to about 28 today, but that nor'easter is going to kick in this afternoon, and of course, the forecast for tomorrow is quite a blustery nor'easter late in the afternoon, probably in excess of 20 knots and probably around about 32, so quite warm as we get into this weekend. Guys, I think offshore is going to be a little bit tough later in the afternoons, and things you've got to consider, particularly with Swansea bar, is of course the bar crossings, and that run out tide on a nor'easter can be a little bit dodgy. And there was quite a bit of white water on both sides of the breakwater yesterday afternoon. Tomorrow morning, low tide 7 a.m. So you'll be basically crossing the bar on low tide, around about 1:45 high tide, around about 166. So it's not a bad afternoon tide. Out wide, look, it's going to be pretty blustery out there throughout the day, and it's probably not advised, but water temp only still hovering in around about 20.5 degrees, but not much current. There was a couple of sharks caught last weekend, but no real pelagic activity out on that shelf area at the present moment. I'm sure over the next few weeks that will start to improve. On the inshore reefs, that farm area in particular, some really good snapper getting caught on the farm, right the way through basically Northern Farm, Catho Farm, down through Texas, and of course down off the Texas down towards Terrigal, still getting some really nice kingfish and a real variety of species down there at the moment. On the inshore reefs, we've still got those reds on those inshore reefs, guys. There's no bonito as yet. Water temperature about 18 degrees, and it was sort of funny. Guys caught fish last Saturday, but then on the Sunday, everything seemed to shut down. I really think that was just another change of water, because there's patches of water out there that are cold, and there's some that are a little bit warmer. Down towards Terrigal, the water was cobalt blue and around about 19 at stages. So you've just got to physically move around and have a bit of a look and see what that water temp's physically doing. Still plenty of flatties around, a lot of mowies, and that's just a sign of this time of the year when we are in spring and there's not a lot of consistency. There are the odd mulloway on the offshore reefs as well, guys. Live baiting for those will be the pick, and of course just a speckling of trag right up and down the coast. Beaches, been some really big tailor on the beaches in there, and some of these big tailor are mixed in with the salmon. Some of these salmon, like we talked about, 3 and 4 kilo, but we are seeing tailor as big as 3 kilo mixed in with these salmon. These salmon, of course, are coming back into the Blacksmith's breakwater, and some of them are coming into where the sunken wall is in Salts Bay, but very big tailor at this time of the year mixed in with the salmon schools. There's a little bit of a bonus there. Not a lot of whiting on the beaches. We're just starting to see a sprinkling, but I really think we've got to get into November and see a little bit more consistency with our water temperature. The swell today, guys, was around about 1.82 metres. It will slowly abate, but again, be very choppy out there in the afternoon. So if you are rock fishing, certainly this afternoon or tomorrow, please be aware of that situation. You've got that later afternoon tide, but just don't take any undue risks, particularly with rock fishing. And it's a little bit unpredictable because there are some chunky bits of swell moving through at the present moment. The estuary, well, I reckon that's going to be perfect. You've got that really good tide tomorrow afternoon, not quite 2 o'clock, but very close. And of course, getting closer to 3 o'clock on Sunday. With the winds out of the nor'east, I think this is where you need to be, guys, in the estuary. Plenty of good whiting around at the moment. Of course, tube worms in particular are working very, very well. Fishing all these shallower areas. And again, pick the last of the tides, the last of the run out or the last of the run in. Gives you a good option early and late. There's some really nice fish down around the backs of Swansea Flats down towards Nesca Park, and of course up in here to Belmont Bay, up towards the Yacht Club, and all these little fringe edges here. Beautiful whiting and some very, very good brim mixed in with them. Not a lot of tailor in the lake, there's just a lot of small fish, but some really nice mulloway. But there's a lot of those little guys still poking around, a lot of small mulloway up towards Valentine, Lillibano area as well. Been a few in the bay itself and down around Pulba. But had a good report this morning, some big flathead down around that Pulba Iron area. And this is what guys are asking me, how are the flathead physically going? Well, I reckon this next run, we've got a bit of the first quarter of the moon happening now. That November prawn run is going to be really significant because you'll see a lot more of those flatties coming close, but they're now moving around. So we're seeing a lot of flathead now moving into that northern part of the lake. So they're coming out of the southern end where they've had the benefit of that warmer water from the power stations. They'll come through the back of the flats here as well. So still working some edges, but there's still a bit of time that you can still work some of that deeper water. Few kingies around. There's obviously kingies at the bridge, and last Sunday, for example, there was a massive salmon school off pelican, and it was just carving the water to pieces, just foaming the water up. And those fish on that high tide, they moved all the way up to basically where the skateboard park is there, and then moved back. So there's a lot of salmon on the tide in the channel and still at the drop over. So there's still a lot of fun to be had. Now squid, everyone's sort of asking squid. Yes, there's been a couple of the drop over, definitely a few in the channel early in the morning, and that's probably really the pick. You're just going to have to move around a little bit, guys. It's not quite squid season, but we are seeing certainly a few increases, but there are some very nice blue swimmer crabs in the lake. Around about 5 to 7 metres is where I reckon is the go, because a lot of these crabs have been moving out of that deep water, so they've been coming out of 9 metres of water, and they'll start to get up into that shallower type of area. You can generally see that when you are crabbing, you'll see that heavy stain on the underbelly of the crab. That's where he's been in that deep water all winter, and they're starting to move. And a lot of guys complaining about ockies, and there's a lot of octopus in the lake at the moment. Ockies love blue smooth crabs just as much as humans. But guys, I think this weekend it looks pretty damn good. It's just got to get out there and have a bit of a dig. I know down at the store we've got a few specials on a few of the samaki rods. We're clearing a few samaki rods, and we're certainly clearing out the last of the Daiwa Gen Blacks as well at a pretty good price. So come on down and see us. We are getting a delivery of tube worms this afternoon. In fact, I think that should be there in around about half an hour. Bit of an early one for that. But the weather's looking good. Just got to get out there. Be aware of the bar crossings with the run out tide, and we'll see you next Friday.